York City? New York City?
Werewolf here. Again, far too many influencers and pundits on the right are making their predictable mistake of flooding the dialogue by going on about their opponent in the New York City race, Zoran Mamdani, and not even mentioning the guy on our side. What's his name? Curtis Sliwa. So by complaining about Mamdani all the time, they're effectively helping the guy build name recognition. So I will be the first, well, I hope I'm not the first, to endorse Curtis Sliwa in this race. I learned a few interesting things that are kind of quirky about the guy. But first, let's take a look at the present state of New York City, as it is. Crime, including assaults on random citizens in broad daylight, is skyrocketed, largely due to the catch and release policy and other wimpy policies that embolden criminals. You know, people complain about Trump wanting to send the National Guard, but they forgot about the time when Governor Kathy Hochul sent the National Guard specifically to patrol these subways, though, from my understanding, I'm guessing that the Guard was given a lot of stand-down orders and really couldn't do very much. We also had an epidemic of people being pushed onto subway tracks. 2 people were set on fire in 1 week at the beginning of this year, and a third was set on fire in Times Square, ironically after Governor Hochul announced the burn ban about brush fires and campfires. It's been a sanctuary city for a number of years now, and we had homeless people piled up on the streets. You know, some were given 5-star hotels at the city's expense, but people sleeping out in the streets in the city was so hyper-restrictive on COVID, yet decriminalized urinating in elevators. All this and more isn't really concerned about disease control or your health. You know, and the city has been under Democratic control for nearly a quarter of a century now. So let's talk about Curtis Sliwa, the Republican running. You know, he started the protection group, essentially a neighborhood watch group, Guardian Angels, to protect people from violent thugs. You know, it's going to require a lot more than just that one group in New York City. So he will be the tough on crime candidate for you. Now, here's one of his quirky ideas. He's a cat enthusiast. I think he said he owned 17 cats at one point. The crazy cat guy. He wants to release feral cats in the streets and subways to destroy the rats that are overpopulated in the city. Now, the right should be making some memes about this like they did for Trump, but again, no word from them. Now, here's a policy that the right doesn't like of his. However, I'm not necessarily going to dismiss this, and I'll explain why. Sliwa supports universal basic income. It would be far better to try something like this in one city than to try to cross the entire nation. Now, my prediction is that it will fail. However, perhaps it'll work or work to some extent. It depends largely on how it's managed and according to other things going on in policies in the city. Now, I am worried about an AI takeover. By AI, I mean artificial idiots taking over our jobs. And, you know, many are suggesting that the only avenue out of this is universal basic income. You know, I'd like to think that there are other ways to deal with this, but again, you know, maybe trying this in a city would be a good way to examine it. Maybe elements of it would work in the long run. And besides, this is New York City, so they'd like something like that. Now, Trump has denounced the guy as a crazy cat guy, but this probably helps him in New York City. In fact, an endorsement from Trump would hurt him with a large extent of the city population. And then back to the right to messing this up for Sliwa by not talking about him. You know, I saw circulated this meme that looked like something from the way advertising was done in the up through the Bush era by the right. Just lame, boomerish. No, I'm not against boomers. I'm seeing my video in defense of boomers. But the fact that someone on the right said this, and people on the right, on Normie Book, and people on the left are circulating the same meme, is not good for Sliwa. complaining that the Zora guy's a socialist. This makes him more popular with a lot of young people in the city, a lot of young liberals. Besides, New York City is basically on its way to become a complete socialist state anyway, no matter what. Sometimes I think like the Matt Walsh types want Mamdani to win so they have something to complain about for the next 4 years. And he most likely will, given the voter demographics of the city. I can't help but recall the time when New York City Mayor Michael Bloomberg tried running for president in 2020. His campaign was so desperate that on his website, and I actually looked this up, he was offering to pay people to make memes for him. Like that desperate, where he needed people to get paid to make memes for him. Well, hey, thank you for watching. Until next time, life, liberty, and the pursuit of all.